Imagine you had the keys to every theme park in the UK. What are you going to change? Well, today I'm going to do just that. For every park, I'm going to make one change, add one thing, and take something away. Sorry, rattlesnake. Let's go fix some theme parks. Right, let's start with the biggest theme park here in the UK, and that is, of course, Alton Towers. Now, there's one thing that, well, there's a lot of things I would change, but I'm only going to pick one thing just now, and that is Galactica. It just doesn't fit in. It really doesn't fit in. Now, there was loads of rumours that it was supposed to get a massive retheme to fit in with that area, and of course we all know that Merlin right now is being a little bit tight with the cash, so it's believed that that has been postponed or indefinitely scrapped. But if it was me, I'd either get rid of the thing, or I would, if I was keeping it, I'd be changing it to fit in. And speaking of things that I would remove though, and this one, actually, I'm going to say it, but my opinion on it has changed lately. I would remove Rita, because I've always thought there's quite a few one-trick ponies in Towers. This is one of them, massive launch, or punchy launch, and then meh, a little bit meh. Now, I recently did the Your Experience Guide event for Rita's 20th birthday, and lapped the thing multiple times at the end of the day when the park was quiet, and I actually did enjoy it. It was very, very different when you don't have to stand in that queue, and at the end of the day it has warmed up. But nonetheless, sadly, these hydraulic launch coasters are on the way out. Almost every one of them has closed or is in danger. So I think its days are numbered, and certainly if it was me, I would take it out and put something better in its place. And then speaking of what I would do in terms of additions, one thing I think this park is lacking is something decent from a water ride. Yes, they've got the rapids, yes, they've got the Battle Galleons thing, but you know, the log flume was fantastic. I think they could do with a nice modern water coaster. Don't see any of those in the UK, but something along the lines of the Vliegende Hollander. Well, that's the only one I've done, but something like that, where there's kind of like an indoor scene, and then it goes out and it's a coaster, and then there's a big splashdown. I think that would be fantastic for Towers. And then moving on to my home park, the park I talk about all the time, of course, that is Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Now, this park is currently in a transitional phase anyway, so they are doing quite a lot. But I think some of the ideas I have might be outside their budget. First thing I'd do in terms of changing things is I would change the trains on the Grand National. I've said it many, many times, I think that coaster has so much potential. The track layout is fantastic, the dueling element, the fact that it's one of only 2 or 3 Mobius loops that's left. Like, it's a brilliant coaster, massively let down by those trains. They are far too heavy, they're far too clunky, they're far too uncomfortable. So I know there's only a handful of options they could go with in terms of new trains, but if it was me, that's the one thing I would change. And then when it comes to removals, well, there's one obvious one that definitely needs to be kicked out of the park, and that is Infusion. The fact that this replaced the log flume is a disaster, and let's be fair, SLCs are not the best, so this one needs to go. And when it comes to additions, I mean, there's tons of things I would love to see at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, and many of them have been talked about in the past. Dive coasters and, you know, extreme spinning coasters and all that kind of stuff. The one thing though that I think would go quite well, and I honestly don't see it happening unfortunately, is something like Yoi over in Wallaby, Holland. Now, that is the RMC single rail, but the clever thing there is that there's the family version and there's the thrill version. And I think we all are expecting that whatever replaces Grand Prix is going to be a family attraction because, well, Grand Prix was a family attraction. But if they did something like that with this kind of family thrill dueling element, I think that'd be fantastic. I think it would cater to both audiences, and of course it would bring us our first RMC. Don't think it's going to happen, but I would love to see it. And then if we move down to Drayton Manor, now this is an interesting park, obviously has changed in recent years from catering to thrills down to that kind of family demographic. One thing I would change, apart from operations, because that park struggles really badly, is I would give the Wave a second train. Now, from what I've heard, it was meant to get 2 trains. They also were not meant to be by Art. They were supposed to be by Intamin. But that's not what happened. We got 1 train by Art, and yeah, it's not the best, but I think a second train would massively help. In terms of removal, well, I think I would probably remove Accelerator, mainly because it kind of sticks out. It's a boomerang, okay, there's nothing fantastic about them. They've obviously started to do something and making this high voltage thing, starting to tweak the theming. I'm curious, in fact, the day this video goes out, I am in Drayton Manor. And I'm curious to see if anything's actually happened in the queue line to kind of further tie it into that area or if it still sticks out. But if it was me, I'd get rid of it. And then in terms of what I would add, well, actually I would bring something back, and there's rumblings that this might be happening, and that is that indoor boat attraction. Now, I never experienced it firsthand, but you know, I do believe it's comparable on a much more budget level, I'm sure, to something like Pirates of the Caribbean, that indoor water ride, boat ride thing, and I'd love to see it. So I never got to experience it first time round. I'd like to see it added back in. A park that often gets looked over is Flamingo Land. Kind of closer to me than it is to most because it's up north for a lot of people probably watching this video. It's a park that has a lot of potential and I don't think it's reached it. My recent visit, I was there on opening day with Joe from TPI and it was a disaster. It was not great. But it's a park that has not been afraid to spend some money in the past, and I'd love to see them continue to do that. But in terms of what I would change, the obvious thing is that the rides need more than one train. Kamali and Sick specifically need a second train. I've heard some stories about why they don't, but if it was me, I'd get a second train for those. In terms of what would be removed, I don't think anybody's going to disagree with this one. There is one obvious attraction that needs to go in the bin, and that is Hero. That thing is an absolute disaster. Torture chamber, death trap, it is just not great. Get rid of it. Now in terms of what I would bring to the park, as I said, they've not been afraid to sort of spend some cash and maybe be a little bit out there. I really wouldn't put it past them to be the first to bring us an RMC, just because I think it would be that kind of like, look what we've done. So yeah, if it was me, they've got plenty of space and they do have some restrictions. If you've seen my history series, they got in trouble a little bit in the past, but in general, they're kind of allowed to do quite a lot. I think they could get away with a fantastic RMC. Right, we're about halfway through this list right now. I would love to know your thoughts as we go through this. Things that you would change, because I'm sure there's different opinions from what I have. But if you're enjoying this one, make sure you hit that like button and please consider subscribing. All right, moving down to Chessington. Now this is a park that is obviously very much getting a lot of work right now anyway. There is that whole kind of Project Play that's taken over the Mexican area. And then of course there's the Minecraft land coming in 2027. So a lot is happening, but ignoring all of that, if it was me, the one thing I would probably change is Vampire. Now, I've been sort of critical of this ride in the past. I think there's a lot of hype on it that I don't quite get. It's an okay coaster, I've had some good rides on it, I've had some bad rides on it. One thing I think would add to it though, and probably just take it to that next level, is if they put some onboard audio on there. Especially if you were having a night ride through the woods and there was some onboard audio playing, I think that'd be fantastic. And then in terms of what I would remove, well, I kind of hinted at this at the start of the video, no surprises, Rattlesnake needs to go in the bin. That thing is an absolute disaster, super uncomfortable, looks great off ride, looks like this crazy Wild Mouse style ride. It's so bad from an operational point of view and it is bloody uncomfortable. Now interestingly, when it comes to what I would add, I probably agree with the direction they're going in terms of this multi-dimensional coaster that is coming to the Minecraft area is definitely one that I would love to see. Right, moving on to Legoland. Now this is a park I have been very, very critical of in the past. I have not had a good experience in this park ever. I've been there on quiet days, I've been there on busy days, and it's just an absolute nightmare of a park, but with a lot of potential. So the one thing I would change, the obvious thing that needs to change, is operations. I've spoke to staff in the past, they've all said that there's no motivation for them, the kind of management don't really care. It's just bonkers, they just have no urgency to get anything done. And I would significantly change those operations. Now when it comes to removals, there is one attraction that again I just don't think works. I've done a couple of variations on this ride, and that is Ninjago. Now I've done this and I've done the Spider-Man one over in Disneyland Paris. They're both this kind of like sensor-based thing where you're kind of moving your hand around to try and hit targets. It's rubbish. It's really, really rubbish. It's like the targeting on it is terrible. You're exhausted, your wrists are killing you by the end of it. It's just crap, get rid of it. In terms of what I would add though, I mean, obviously they just not that long ago added Minifigure Speedway. It's okay. I mean, listen, they're never gonna have thrill coasters, that's not their demographic, but I think if they looked at one of the parks we're gonna talk about in a minute, Paultons, something like Storm Chaser, that spinning coaster, I think would be fantastic in Legoland. So yeah, well, that is what I would add. Right, so Thorpe Park then, that is obviously one of the more thrilling parks in the UK. It's a favourite park of mine. It's not one I get to very often because it's bloody hard for me to get to. But in terms of what I would change, there's been some kind of rumblings that this is at least feasible. It may never ever happen. But the park a few years ago took Swarm and flipped the back rows. I think they left that one for 2 seasons. And it's already been stated by Mac that Hyperia could have the same treatment. It could very easily have some seats facing the other direction. There would be, you know, nothing significant about that. Obviously the trains would need some work. But yeah, if it was me, I would put that on because I think that would be fantastic to have the option to go backwards on Hyperia. Now when it comes to what I'd remove, this is a bit of a tough call because there's 2 things in here that I don't really like. One of them is the ghost train. I just think it's an absolute disaster. It's terrible, don't get it, useless. However, I'm gonna give it a reprieve for now because the thing that really needs to go is Colossus. Again, it's got potential because it's the same, or 95% the same attraction as Sick, but with those horrific trains. They are just not comfortable. If it could get the other trains, maybe I'd keep it. But as it stands, get rid of that damn thing. As for what I would add though, the one thing that is massively lacking at Thorpe Park is a decent dark ride, or even a dark ride. I mean, you could argue that Ghost Train is. I would say it's not because it's terrible. But yeah, they used to have, again, when you look at the history series I did, there were dark rides in this park in the past, and there ain't no more. So let's hope that is something that is on their to-do list. And the last park I'm going to cover is Paultons Park, which I will be at in a few weeks' time for the opening of Ghostly Manor. Now, in terms of what I would change, I actually struggled with this one because they're one of the parks that is probably showing the rest of the UK how things should be done, right? They're an independent family park and they are absolutely smashing it. Now, again, I am not the target demographic for them. It is aimed at a much younger audience. But nonetheless, the only thing I could think to change is its location. I mean, for me, I would change all the locations of the parks because they're all bloody miles away from me. But it's just a little bit tucked away. There's obviously that cluster of parks down or sort of London-ish area. Well, at least they are to me. People always tell me that's not London, but it's not far from Heathrow. You can get to Thorpe and Chessington and Legoland. Paultons is a wee bit out there. So yeah, maybe shift its location. You can't, but that would be the one thing I'd love to see change. In terms of removals, they've got a roller disco. You've probably seen me in many videos say I'm not a fan of roller discos. I think they're a complete waste of space, so get rid of the edge. And then when it comes to additions, the only thing I could think of was another sort of water attraction. Now, they do have like a junior log flume type thing, but I think they would benefit from a decent water attraction. They're obviously quite far down south, therefore they're, you know, as close to the equator as we're going to get here in the UK, so they've probably got the best weather you can expect, and therefore I think a decent water ride would be fantastic. Well, there you go. That is my things that I would change to UK parks. Now, to be fair, there are plenty of things that I would love to do, more than just what I've listed here, and I'm sure you guys have some great ideas as well. So please, let's get them in the comments, let's get chatting. How are we going to fix the UK theme park scene before Universal gets here? If you enjoyed this one, make sure you hit that like button and please do subscribe. I have been Chris, you've been watching Coaster Dad, and I shall see you in the next one. Adios!